have an undefeated South Carolina team looking for redemption and an Iowa team led by a star unlike any we have ever seen. You could not have scripted a better ending to this magical season.
Clark, oh my, from the future. She has the most ever in a championship game quarter. And Johnson picks the pocket of Clark. What a momentum buster to end the half.
This year's South Carolina team has multiple, consistent, efficient weapons.
Perfection with a touch of sweet redemption. Undefeated South Carolina has won its third national championship. And Caitlin Clark says goodbye in college basketball.
All I have to say is the revenge tour is over. How sweet it is to have the confetti falling down for the third time on the South Carolina Gamecocks, your 2024 national champions. They're still smiling out there in Columbia as we welcome you into this special edition of SEC Now. We're going to bring you the ladies' welcome home celebration from out there in Columbia. There's a look inside the Russell House and, of course, the T-Coop Fountain, which a lot of students went for a bath in last night at the conclusion of the Iowa-South Carolina game. You know it was a good time out there on campus last night with everyone celebrating, whether you were in Cleveland, in Columbia, or anywhere across the country rooting for the Garnet and Black. We're going to bring you inside Colonial Life Arena as soon as the team and coaches arrive. They've been filling it out to celebrate with the ladies. 38-0, unbeaten national champions and national champions for the third time in program history. As we welcome you into our studio, like we said, we're going to spend the next hour here with you, showing you images, showing you the celebration of the fan base out there in Columbia, South Carolina, just moments away from welcoming the team inside the arena and celebrating with them. An unbelievable season, the 10th team to finish as an unbeaten champion. And what makes this team so special, we've talked about it all season long, the uncertainty that Dawn Staley and this coaching staff had at the very beginning of the season, losing their entire starting lineup from that Final Four team a season ago. 3 top WNBA draft picks, 3 first-rounders, including the #1 overall pick, Aaliyah Boston, who was in attendance watching South Carolina hoist that trophy once again as your national champs, something that they've been waiting on from that revenge season last year, of course, facing off against the Iowa Hawkeyes. It didn't end as well as it did this season. And, man, what a dynasty Dawn Staley has built in Columbia.
How do you define a dynasty? Is it wins, dominance, championships? Or is it measured by something else? Regardless of the generational talent that's called Columbia home before, coming off a 2-season run in which they lost 3 games, South Carolina wasn't actually supposed to be here.
With the first pick, Aaliyah Boston, Letitia Amahir, Zaya Hook, Bree Beal, University of South Carolina.
They began the season down 5 starters from the Final Four team a year ago. That was almost 70% of their offense that included a National Player of the Year.
Bring me, baby!
And yet, here they go again.
Cardoso feels inevitable.
This time, winning without a household name, just a group of clutch players ready when their number's called. And now, they're only the 10th D1 team in history to complete an undefeated season. And their coach, Dawn Staley, becoming the 5th women's coach to win 3 championships. And now their 3rd title in the last 7 tournaments. And yes, that alone is dynastic. But the standard they've set, the leader they've followed, the program they've built from scratch, well, that's more. That's legendary.
Said it yesterday, got to be considered Dawn Staley's most impressive coaching performance yet, because it was perfect. 38-0 culminating with all that confetti and that national title trophy. The emotion that she showed yesterday in the moments of the final seconds of that game, in the post-game interviews, and every conversation she had. It was unbelievable to watch, and it was incredible to watch what this team accomplished in 2024. As you take a look at some of the other undefeated national champions we've seen across Division I women's basketball history, South Carolina, of course, the latest to finish with a perfect year, 38 straight games. The last time they lost was on that Final Four stage a season ago against the team they just took revenge over for a national championship. We are going to get you back out to Colonial Life Arena coming up in just a few minutes, standing by, waiting for the ladies and for the coaches to arrive. They left Cleveland this morning. We will bring you all that celebration and more when we come back right here on SEC Now. We're told that we are moments away from the team taking the stage in front of all of these excited Gamecock fans. The school giving the students the afternoon off from class to dry off, of course, from the bath at the Thomas Cooper Fountain first, but then to come celebrate with Dawn Staley and her ladies as they bring home this third national championship trophy. We will bring you everything that is said from Coach, anything that is said from the players while they are up there on the stage. You have to imagine it's probably been a pretty long night. Coach Staley was on Good Morning America earlier today after going through every part of that national championship celebration last night in Cleveland. And something that was kind of going around social media, which I thought was really cool, was the fact that Coach Staley went through all of her obligations with the media. She went through her press conference. She went through every last box she had to check after winning that national championship. And then she found herself back on the floor doing one-on-one interviews with every local media entity that had made the trip to make sure that everyone else had what they needed. There's not a lot of coaches who are going to take the time to make the rounds to make sure everyone else is taken care of after one of the biggest moments of their life and of their career. And something that I want to add to that, my first TV job was in Columbia, South Carolina. The first beat that I was assigned to was covering Dawn Staley and the South Carolina women's basketball program. And Coach Staley was doing that. She was making those rounds long before they were national champions, long before they were SEC champions. She was doing that after heartbreaking losses up in Storrs, Connecticut in 2015. After heartbreaking losses in the Sweet 16 when this team went to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She has not changed as this program has changed and as she has changed this dynasty that she has built for women's college basketball when it comes to making sure that everyone around her feels supported, feels loved, and has what they need to succeed. And that extends beyond just her players. And everyone in Columbia can feel that, as evidenced by so many people in attendance there to cheer her on, to cheer on her ladies, and to celebrate this team. As you see athletics director Ray Tanner there with Brad Muller, the director of content at the University of South Carolina, getting ready to welcome the ladies onto the stage. Ray Tanner, of course, was up there yesterday. Football head coach Shane Beamer was in attendance as well, cheering on Dawn Staley and the squad to this national championship victory. So proud of her. And it is a testament as well to the University of South Carolina and how close-knit these coaches are, this coaching staff. You saw throughout the season men's head coach Lamont Paris in the stands cheering for Coach Staley and vice versa. When the men knocked off Kentucky at Colonial Life Arena, who was right there in the front row screaming her head off? But Dawn Staley, you're now national champion here in the year 2024 for the third time. And again, we cannot stress this enough. They did it perfectly. 38-0. 38 wins, the 10th team to finish as an unbeaten champion and your national champions. Let's listen to Brad Muller now.
Thank you so much for being here. My name's Brad Muller, proud to be the radio voice of South Carolina women's basketball the last 17 years. And in case you missed it last night, South Carolina won its third national championship. Let's bring them on out, and then we'll brag on them for a little bit. Let's meet your players first. Number 0, senior guard, Te-Hina Pow Pow. Number 2, sophomore forward, Ashlyn Watkins. Number 5, freshman guard, Tessa Johnson. Number 10, senior center, Camila Cardoso. Number 12, freshman guard, Malaysia Fulwiley. Number 15, freshman center, Adele Tack. Number 20, junior forward, Sanaya Fagan. Number 21, sophomore forward, Chloe Kitts. Number 23, junior guard, Bree Hall. Number 25, sophomore guard, Raven Johnson. Number 35, senior center, Sakima Walker. Your coaching staff, assistant coaches, Khadijah Sessions, Mary Woolley, Winston Gandy, Jolette Law, Lisa Boyer, and your head coach, Dawn Staley. Well, again, in case you missed it, South Carolina became just the 10th team and the 5th program to go undefeated and win the national championship. They passed every test, perfection. They won in Paris. They won in places like Durham and Chapel Hill. They won in places you may have never heard of, like Uncasville, Connecticut. They won in hostile environments like Baton Rouge. They ran the table in the SEC for the 2nd straight year. This was a team in every sense of the word. The bench was just as important as the starters all season long. They sacrificed personal accolades and attention to put the team first, but they all made a difference. And this is how it's supposed to be. This is what a team looks like. This team put the we ahead of the me, and look where they are. They're perfect. The university has a marketing campaign with the tagline, "Behold the remarkable we." Well, this team fits that pretty well. Behold this remarkable we. I said it last night and I'll say it again. Perfection wears garnet and black. And now it's my pleasure to introduce someone who knows a little bit about winning some championships, Athletics Director Ray Tanner.
Thank you, Brad. Welcome to Colonial Life Arena, home of the 2024 National Champions. Two out of the last 3 years, and if not for COVID, it would be another one. We all know that. I want to congratulate you and say thank you for all your passion, your enthusiasm, the energy that you bring to this building. We got a fantastic group of young women who play basketball, a great coaching staff, the head coach of all time, but they appreciate what you bring when you come in this building, because it's a never, ever lose when you're here. So thank you very much for being a part of that. And I appreciate all of you who dried out from being in the Thomas Cooper Fountain last night. Thank you. That was a great picture. It is my honor to introduce 3 in a row National Coach of the Year, a national champion, 38-0, the greatest of all time, the GOAT, our head coach, Dawn Staley.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. It's an incredible honor to come back to this, to come back to you. We hope your watch parties were a success, let's say. It's so cool to come back to a place in which we've had so much success. Colonial Life Arena, and the way that you support our women's basketball team and men's basketball team, because it was pretty special up in this place. And we don't lose very many times in this place because of the environment that you all create. And the fact that our Presidents Emeritus, and our board members chose to close class for today means they take winning and success very, very seriously. We hope that this is an annual day off. But I just have to give it up to our players who made a commitment to each other. To probably do something that was totally different than any other team that I coached. They held each other accountable. They encouraged each other. What you saw them be able to do, like all of them, each and every one of them took their turn in making an impact on any given night for our team to be successful. And they did it in a way in which they lifted up each other. And that is truly, truly an organic chemistry that you couldn't pay real money to produce. I'll say this, sometimes we often don't know why. I thought the team that we fielded last year would have brought home a national championship. It didn't happen. Half of the players on this team felt that loss, and they vowed to bring it on home. And sometimes they had a little swag about it. Sometimes they had a confidence about them. Sometimes it was a little bit too much for us to take because we didn't know what was going to happen on the floor. And it happened last night when these players were talking and they used some choice words, and we give them their space. We're in the coach's locker room, and they're saying, we're going to do this to them, we're going to do that to them, we're going to do this to them, we're going to do that to them, right? Meanwhile, the coaches are in the locker room, and we're like, either we're going to get blown out or we're going to blow them out. And I would say for the first 3 minutes of the game, we got blown out. But the 37 other minutes, this team would not be denied this year. I am incredibly proud of them for all they've given. They sacrificed and won every single game. And let me give a shout out to our highlighters. Step forward, fellas. Step forward. These are our practice players. And I gotta give them a huge shout out because they're the only team that beat us this year. Anyway, before I give the mic to someone else, I just want to shout out our staff, our coaches, our trainer, our performance coach, our our everything, our media person, our ticketing, every single person that had an impact in the success of our team. And it's every year doesn't end this way, but it doesn't diminish the work that they put in for us to have a year like this. But it's always pretty special when you can end the year on a high note like we have and give credit where credit is due. And then lastly, only by the grace of God that this happens. So thank you very much.
Great stuff from Coach Dawn Staley out there at Colonial Life Arena. We got to pay some bills and take a break. We'll be right back in Columbia. Welcome home celebration out there in Colonial Life Arena. The students were given the afternoon off from class to attend this. We just heard from Coach Staley.
Before we
listen
go,
in to more.
I think Raven had something to say.
The revenge tour is over, and now it's time for the repeat tour.
Thank you.
You heard Raven Johnson after the performance of a lifetime yesterday against Caitlin Clark. Raven Johnson absolutely locked her down to end that revenge tour. She talked about it all season long, how much they were hoping they'd be able to get back on that stage and against that opponent. There's Champ in the building as well. And Raven Johnson, I hope the smile doesn't leave her face for a very long time. You talk about a team that deserves all of the success and more. Raven Johnson, it feels like it just meant a little bit more for her after what happened in 2023. And now she's a national champion as they're dancing around with the trophy, sharing it with the fans, something that Coach Staley did throughout the weekend, honestly, in Cleveland. After the Final Four win during open practice on Saturday, which, by the way, was sold out for open practice for Iowa and South Carolina. Everywhere Coach Staley went, she was the most popular person in the arena. And I'm not just talking South Carolina fans, Iowa fans, UConn fans, NC State fans who stuck around. Everyone wanted an opportunity to talk to her, to get an autograph, to get a photograph. She just means so much to the sport of women's college basketball and to so many sports fans who have fallen in love with this sport across the country. Same with the rest of her program as well. There were images going around of Camila Cardozo connecting with young women's basketball fans who were just overcome with emotion at the opportunity to be able to interact with them. And now national champions, it just means so much more. Of course, it means so much to Camila Cardozo's family. Of course, she came over when she was a teenager, took a chance, spoke very little English when she came over to the United States, eventually ends up at South Carolina. So much trust with her and Coach Staley and the staff. The family was watching as this game went final. Of course, we brought you that moment from earlier in the season when Dawn Staley surprised Camila with her mom and her sister. She had not seen them in years. They had not seen her play in the United States, and they have to be smiling still today from ear to ear as Camila and the rest of this team are perfect, undefeated national champions. We cannot overstate it enough. We're going to say it over and over because it's that hard to do. 38-0 and a national championship. This is also hard to do. We've talked about South Carolina's depth all season long. How much of an impact it has had when they have faced adversity, when they have gone down the stretch. And look at how the bench performed yesterday against Iowa. 37 points off the bench compared to none for the Hawkeyes. Tessa Johnson helped lead the way when it came to that second group coming off. And Coach Staley, she kind of alluded to it. The first 3 minutes of that game, Iowa went out to an 11-0 lead. It felt like South Carolina needed to take a little bit of a breath. It was when Coach Staley made that first substitution and put some of those freshmen in, put some of those bench players in. It gave South Carolina just that extra breath and that extra punch that those players had been giving them all season long. Even more credit to Coach Staley for having such talented players willing and trusting to come off the bench for her and helping win a national championship.
I'm proud of how much they stick together. To go undefeated again with a totally different starting lineup and basically a totally different team.
They have been dominant all season long, and Dawn Staley, she didn't have to rebuild. She just renovated what this program was built on.
Every single one of the players on our roster role changed from the previous season.
The moment all of us touched down on campus, I feel like we all knew we're really good, and if we all bring it together and just listen to what Dawn was telling us the whole summer, then we could be great.
I was faced with, how do I get this team where it needs to be without losing it, for real, without losing it.
What it looked like in June, early retirement. Like, seriously, I was considering it.
I held myself accountable to holding them accountable, and it took a while. So I wasn't really serious about retiring, but it did pop up in that bubble that sits on top of your head.
Not many teams could lose all of these faces, but in all new starters and be the #1 team in the nation and the #1 overall seed.
We got more shooters like Pow Pow, Breezy, even me, I'm shooting more.
Johnson will fire and hit.
We got depth coming from starters to the bench. We don't miss a beat when we sub. And we're more hungry because going off from last year, we don't want to feel that feeling again.
The rest of this bracket better take notice, because this team is sending a message.
Our culture is the same. It just took us a while to get there. And once we got there, this team doesn't want to lose.